Hi everybody, welcome to episode 60 of the Discussion 5. We made it. We finally made it. Alright, 9 episodes away from the big one. You know what that means.
Yeah!
But before we get there, we're continuing today our run-through of past NHL drafts. We're going to do 2002 today. So now you know why what's going on behind me right now is, of course, that beautiful 2002 celebration. We've also got more conversation, continued conversation from a week-to-week basis on what the NHL plans to do once they return. So stick around, but first of all, let's get some business out of the way. As the Discussion 5, we are brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network, which you heard that beautiful ad in the start there. And, of course, the Brothers of Discussion, who we are. And we hope that you'll check out everything that we're doing pro wrestling-wise this upcoming week. For pro wrestling, we've got some big news for AEW and WWE, and some pay-per-view reviews as well as previews coming up for what's going on in the WWE. So check that out at BOD Podcast, brothersofdiscussion.com, and bodpodcast.com. You can find everything there, all the links. For this very podcast, you can find us at BOD Hockey on Twitter, and you can find a shared Instagram account, brothers_of_discussion, for both the Pro Wrestling Show and the Detroit Red Wings Show, and we also do the same for our YouTube channel. You can follow along and get the videos for the show, so vodcasts going up on a weekly basis, going up usually the day after the podcast goes live, but if you could, for both podcasts, if you are a fan, if you are a listener, if you just want to do us a favor, and of course it doesn't cost you a dime, please go to Apple Podcasts, subscribe, rate, and review, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Greatly appreciate it as we continue to try and grow here. Hopefully we'll have some merch coming forward. We'll have some more reputable guests. Condoms?
Oh. What?
Did you yell condoms as our...
Condoms!
Well,
put them over your face for COVID. We're not getting sick over here, man.
Why not?
I had my Discussion 5, my 5-inch condom. I was ready to go.
No, I do just real quick. We have our little ad for the Hockey Podcast Network, but please check them out at HockeyPodNet on Twitter and thehockeypodcastnetwork.com, and stay tuned to the end of the show to hear how you can get some discounts on jerseys at coolhockey.com, as well as enter a contest for a big old gift card. So you'll be taking home maybe some free jerseys if you win that. So again, can't thank the Hockey Podcast Network enough. We were just talking. We're coming close to the end of the Discussion 5 for Season 1, but maybe we're just going to keep on rolling because what else are we going to do on the weekends? All right, Mike, let's talk some hockey. Again, this is our third straight week talking about the 2014 playoff. It seemed as good as ever, just locked up into place last week, but now it's official.
Now it's officially official.
The NHLPA goes ahead and signs off on it, but it comes with a lot of asterisks.
Matt, can I say that I'm so glad you said it the way you said it, because this feels like the 7th or 8th time we've said, all right, it looks like it's going to be a 24-team return. Mm-hmm. We confirmed it, but nothing's confirmed. All right, give us another week, and maybe we'll confirm it, double confirm it.
Well,
I feel like the closest comparison, if I may, it's a lot like the meeting of the Ents in Lord of the Rings, where it takes a very, very long time to say anything. Seems like everybody else is like making moves. Let's get these Ents rolling, man. What's going on over there? Well,
making moves, making million dollar moves. Shout out to Shed. All right. So,
well, I want to say the details then, because I feel like we've done this 7 or 8 times, but so now we're confirming 1 to 4 the seeds in the East and the West, you get bye-byes, and 5 to 12 bang each other around, maybe like a best of 5 tournament. Cool. Well, maybe that number's not set in stone, but letting 5 to 12 bang each other around And so then my concern was, well, what do 1 to 4 do? I feel like it's something we've learned quite a bit in sports, that the team that's sitting idle does poorly. So now we're learning that the top 4 in each conference are just going to bang each other around for 3 games of light competitive games.
Yeah,
I guess.
See how many guys can get hurt before you jump into this playoffs. No, it's
God, what a weird. Don't you think that's a weird thing to manage? Like, you want your stars to get their legs back underneath them, but also these games matter exactly nothing.
I love that. I love that you brought this up, because this will be the ultimate test of like the good old boys NHL, like the I'll rub your back if you rub mine kind of thing. I'm only going to trade with you because that 1 year you hooked me up, so I got you. All of these teams are going to come into this tiny little the pre-playoff exhibition games, and they're going to be like, all right, I promise, I'm not going to hurt you. I know we might see each other in a couple rounds, but we're cool. We're cool? We're cool? All right, pound it out. All right, cool. Just such, I mean, I guess that's kind of, even though guys still get hurt in the preseason, you figure that's kind of like the gentlemanly agreement here. Let's not kill each other because these games don't matter. It's such a, like, in my head, and I think what I'm about to say is talk out of both sides of my mouth, but you like it because these guys need to get their feet underneath them. They need to learn how to be a horse again. They need to learn how to skate again. That's my Seabiscuit reference.
We all knew. We were waiting for a Seabiscuit reference. I'm going to do a little shot of coffee every time we mention Seabiscuit on this show.
Oh, man. You're going to be so tired at the end of the show.
No
poop for you. It's the one swig. Yeah. I meant to go get my cold. I've been brewing cold brew because it's 80. We're in Detroit, Michigan, and it's going to be 80 degrees, Mike. And it's not even June yet. We're getting shit done at my house, kind of. Besides fucking up our project and our deck.
Man, it's just a shame that Larkin won't be in the playoffs because, he's fast in all different directions. That's Seabiscuit number 2. All right, Matt. We're missing out on horse racing, too.
I'm just going to have to start throwing up like Toby.
So, I love the format. I don't even know if they should televise those 3 games that the top seeds are playing against each other.
So, you know what?
It might be nightmarishly bad hockey.
We have already gone off on too many tangents because I wanted to bring up the fact that Gary Bettman said one of the things we need to give back to the fans, and I think more importantly is who, has all of these cable deals and things like that, is content. And he kept saying the word content. But I wanted to bring it up because you said how many times we've confirmed that this 2014 playoff thing is happening. And it's because the NHL is like, God, I hate doing this all the time, but they're leaking information so that they can keep, TSN rolling out content, keep the NHL network rolling out content. But that is exactly why I think those games will be televised, because even if it's like, you can grab the bottom of the barrel announcers. It could be in the middle of the day, so there could be people at work and nobody really catching up on this.
Yeah.
But if they televise it, they have a reason to have you tune in either first thing in the morning to watch, like the NHL Network's version of SportsCenter, going to NHL.com to just see the highlights of any goals. They need people going back to their social media accounts, back to the website. I think 1,000% they're going to find some way for a game that definitely 1,000% should not be on TV. It will be on TV. I'm probably not going to watch it. You already know that I have about 30 hours of wrestling to watch each week. I'm feeding my baby upstairs watching Dark Side of the Ring, so I'm planting those seeds.
Yeah, it's a hot ticket.
Yeah, those will be some fun nightmares.
There's some little nitpicky things to think about for the NHL. Like, because we're going to bring up, with the NBA's, I'm so jealous of what they're doing. I think, actually, Matt, you're going to be jealous because the NBA is thinking about going to play in one of your favorite places in the whole wide world.
Yeah.
One of the things that people are concerned about is the sound. Right now, WWE's done a really good job because, one thing with sound with wrestling is you don't want to hear, I want you to clothesline me. And somehow they've done a fantastic job. I have been watching, wrestling since, we've had this COVID thing, no crowd. I haven't picked up any extra, instances of that. They've done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
But I don't know how, with the NHL, if we're going to be hearing coaches, sharing strategies and things like that, I don't know if they're, super even concerned about what's going to get picked up now on the microphones. And I know that, with the NBA, you could doctor it a little bit because they allow you to play music and crap during the game. Do you think that the NHL might explore something like that just for that extra noise factor? Or we're just going to hear the blades slicing across the ice? That's
tough because the NHL loves their little, the boys yelling across the ice to each other. I think, and that could become problematic with...
Hey, fuck you!
Yeah.
Yeah!
I think we also have seen enough stories from the NHL over the last decade of some of the choice words that get tossed about, bantied about, a little bit worse than even the NBA and the NFL, which is astounding. But, hey, we've had our time talking about the crowd that gets drawn in to play hockey compared to, I don't know, a sport that just requires a leather ball. So yeah, I think the NHL will probably still, you know what? Let me say this. They should do music so that they don't get in too much trouble and that those guys don't feel like it's too quiet. They should. And I think the NHL will still find a way to mic these guys up and really get some good quality content that way. But
I was just thinking, the other thing too is with the sound, and you don't want to have, it's supposed to be safe for children, to turn on the old sport game. So does that mean you have a delay? And then if you have a delay, are we still gambling on it? Because then, we don't know who's maybe leaking information and be like, there's going to be a goal in 15 seconds. You know what I mean? Do they just shut off gambling for, you just, can maybe do pre-period or pre-game.
The gambling thing too is huge with the NHL's big deal.
I mean, they have a team in Las Vegas, so
I don't know.
I didn't know if you were being sarcastic.
No, I wasn't.
Oh.
I totally mean that. They're trying to become the first sport league to have a relationship, a deep relationship with those. What's the big? Who cares? With the sports betting books in Vegas.
Like the DraftKings and those kind of guys.
No, I'm trying to think of the hotel chain. But whoever's running the big sports books out there, they're trying to set up a relationship so that you can bet on things like skater speed, things like that.
Holy mackerel!
Yeah.
Well, the only other thing I was going to mention,
the human body, but mine.
Yeah. The only other thing to kind of think about here is, first of all, I know you're jealous because the NBA is in serious negotiations to play their fucking games at Disney World. What? So I don't know if that means they're going to get park access, but they're definitely going to get a Disney bubble.
Well, Mike,
not unlike what they built for Space Jam.
The parks are not open yet.
But are they going to be open for the NBA players?
Yeah.
Is that why the negotiations aren't done yet?
Disney cast members are coming in. The Disney Springs
members will be there. Because, the NHL, theirs is really tough, Matt. Because they have it's not just like Toronto, in the league. They have a sizable amount of their league is Canadian. So it's an international flavor, and they got to figure out, are we going to have all these players play in Canada or the United States or split it? And then how do they go back and forth, with some of the like tighter restrictions on, how you test for COVID.
And their families.
Yeah. And then, I don't, it's cute that I laughed really hard when back to back I saw NBA going to Disney World, and then NHL's like, we're going to Edmonton. We got golf. It's going to be a cool climate, and our city has really low COVID numbers. So it is pretty safe.
I mean, here's the thing, Mike. I'm going to have a league to watch next season, and the NBA is headed to, like, one of the worst states to be in COVID-wise. So you're not going to have an NBA next year. I'm sorry to tell you. Yeah.
I just thought it was cute. Yeah, Disney's pitch
aside
versus Edmonton's pitch. It was cute.
No, I actually, now that you mentioned the low COVID numbers for the NHL, I'm a huge fan of that, because whenever somebody asks me, if you ever get into like those zombie conversations, we both read World War Z, to go up north, because there's less people up there, and the zombie blood will freeze the bodies.
I think that should have been part of Edmonton's pitch. I think we've all read World War Z. Yeah. When these COVID zombies start coming back, you're going to be dying to get into Edmonton. Oh, little wordplay there. Our friendly neighbors to the north. What were you saying?
You had a question. They haven't. I guess you're asking how do they go about the testing for COVID, right?
I guess the reason I brought it up because we split our time between hockey and wrestling, and last night on AEW they had their Double or Nothing. It's their big pay-per-view, and they made sure to mention we did our testing, and Jim Ross like, I did it twice this week.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm sure.
When did you do it? Sure, that happened. But I mean, wrestlers are historically infamous for hiding injuries, hiding illnesses. Wrestling with the Undertaker is on the Last Ride documentary talking about fighting Mick Foley with a broken foot.
Yeah.
So I just wonder how much COVID testing, how seriously that's being taken.
Well, I challenge everybody to check out the John Oliver HBO. I don't want to call it a special. He just maybe it was like 23 minutes. I think he went over sports coming back and how bad he wants sports to come back, and he brought up the WWE and AEW and how their employees are actually complaining to the state of Florida to please shut it down again because they're not doing like the proper due diligence. So that's very eye-opening. He also brings up the fact that there's a German soccer league or a football league that came back, and they re-shut down because a coach went out one night to go get food, came back, had COVID. They had a whole team that was shut down for 2 weeks. So what do you say? Like, they lose all their games for 2 weeks? And if this happens in the NHL, do they put the playoffs on hold for 2 weeks until they can come back? So there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been figured out yet or has already been put into tests. And Germany was one of the lowest, what do I want to say? The lowest numbers for COVID outbreak in the world. And they still, like, that's where they were like, okay, we're one of the first countries that's going to come back and give the world some sports. And it's still turned into a clusterfuck. So it just, there can't be a perfect plan yet. But yeah, I would say to that end, if the employees of those pro wrestling companies are complaining about, what's going on, I hope that the NHL and the NBA and Major League Baseball and the NFL listens and tries to make adjustments based off of, what can they do to be better than that. But we're still in this part of the decision making where there's science that says we shouldn't do this at all, but we're just going to be like, we'll figure it out. And then, we're putting lives in danger. So it's just, I don't know. I saw the posts online when this was all announced, and there's some Twitter users that are like, just like the NHL to put people in harm's way. And, there were some folks even from our network.
Is this a guy who got hit by an errant puck? What do you mean?
Well, because they would be coming back for
COVID. Oh, I just meant like you saying like it was a, like a pattern.
I don't know.
Just like the NHL. Just like when I got hit by that puck in pregame skate.
Sure.
Sons of bitches.
But the responses to this guy were like, hey, we got to get the NHL back somehow.
Oh.
Do we? No, I mean, you make that the shock sound, but that's like the general response from sports writers, from podcasters, from just general fans. It's like, I guess, it'd be nice to have it on TV to watch, but are we really in that? Is that the part of the world or that? That's where we're at right now, where it's like, I need it. I don't care who dies. Just give me NHL. Here's what I'll say. They're going to come back, right? I hope that they shut it down as quickly as they did in March. Once it kind of looked like, all right, the NBA had some positive tests. NBA shut down. NHL shut down. If something happens and there's, another bubble, I hope, like, if they are going to come back, I hope that they shut it down as quickly as they did in March. That, because we can't do anything at this point. It's going to come back. There's nothing anybody can say. But, again, hope that they shut it down if something goes wrong. There's my final thought.
Like, the way the NHL operates, and, like, one of the players will, like, catch the flu, and then all of a sudden, like, your top two lines have the flu, and everybody's got diarrhea for, like, a game. Is this going to be a situation a little bit like when one of the kids in kindergarten gets chicken pox, so then you try to have your kid get chicken pox, then they all get chicken pox, and they just get it out of their system and keep playing?
I don't know if there's enough science behind that working. Do you think, like, I don't know if there's science that says COVID goes away after one.
Because it's one coach, right, that you mentioned for that German Premier League. Was that what that was? The football
I don't
league?
think it was Premier level, whatever.
I'm
not sure how those levels work, but it was a German football league.
I mean, are we just one star player away from everybody just saying, screw this, we're not playing anymore? Because what are you going to do, just not play without your best player for 2 weeks?
I mean, absolutely. But Mike, I challenge you. Let me ask this. How hard would it be for you to go 2 weeks if you nicked your member or your balls while you were trying to clip yourself? Because you'd have to go 2 weeks and let that thing heal. But Mike, there is a solution. There's a way to make sure that you are not out for 2 weeks, that you could still have your buddy standing strong and tall and clean.
Tell me, please!
The Lawnmower 3.0, provided by Manscaped. Mike. Oh, no, I pulled out my headphones. Now the ad's going to be all broken up. Mike, Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The engineering team spent 18 months giving you the 3.0, which actually, it is a very new product, because if you hit the old Google, because I was putting some pictures together, so we have like a little hockey
of
podcast
the shaving
network
you did?
ad.
Wow.
Huh? Yeah, but the 2.0 still pops up on Google first. So this is that new of a product. So if you want to get in on the third generation, we've got the deal for you right now. And Mike, the reason we're pushing this so hard, this is the most premium ball hair trimmer. When I bring up that note of no nicks or cuts, that is their promise. They put it all together just to make sure that you have an opportunity to shave your balls, feel confident, feel happy, take your time doing it. Really go to town. Keep yourself nice and clean and tidy. Mike, that battery lasts up to 90 minutes. You've got that beautiful LED light so you can see where the sun don't shine. You've got the LED light to shine it up. 7,000 RPM motor for that quiet stroke technology, like we always like to mention. A lot of quiet stroking going on in that area, so why not have your trimmer do the same? If you're listening to me speak right now, like I said, you were one of the persons to hear about this. So why don't you go to manscaped.com, get yourself the Lawnmower 3.0 with promo code THPN. That's going to get you 20% off and free shipping. Manscaped.com, promo code THPN gets you 20% off and free shipping. Lawnmower 3.0. Promise, go check it out. You'll love it as much as we do. Mike, another thing we love, redrafting those NHL drafts. Holy mackerel. We have gone from 1998, and now we're doing the 2002 NHL Draft. The storyline behind this one is very Red Wings-centric. So if this ends up being like one of our last, if we start talking hockey and draft in the next episode, how appropriate that this might be our last one. I am having fun, though, so if we go into 2003, I don't mind. Because, Mike, this is the draft happening after the Red Wings win the Stanley Cup, and I think that we'll also transition into the scouting department winners here. So the Red Wings win the Stanley Cup with one of the greatest teams ever assembled in any sport. The list of Hall of Fame guys. I mean, it's rivaled by like other NHL teams. I'm sure there's Yankee teams that would come to mind for New York fans. Who knows what the Patriots will look like in regards to Hall of Famers years from now. But this Red Wings team, it is. We don't need to say it. We have the Red Wings fans that listen to the podcast, so they know. But then the Red Wings, and we've been doing this, we have a lot of categories for each one of these drafts, and what we like to do is kind of give you like a rundown or a preview of what went down in this draft before we do our redraft. But Mike, easily, for me, the Red Wings won the scouting department little trophy that we award for each year. Not that they kept Thomas Fleischmann, but they draft Yuri Hudler, Thomas Fleischmann, Valtteri Filppula, and Jonathan Ericsson, the very last guy to go in the draft.
Mr. Irrelevant.
By far and away, with the amount of games played that come out of these four guys, the position of their draft picks, because they traded away their first rounder, because they were trying to help themselves out the last few years, so their first rounders were always flying away. But to make the draft picks that, in the second round and later work, and then to find the success of these guys that Filppula is still, he came back for his second run. Jonathan Ericsson, even though he's been a Grand Rapids, Grand does not sound like a word to me right now. I must be having a stroke. Grand Rapids Griffin, I'm dead serious. I'm like, Grand's not how you say grand. Wait, yeah, it is. Grand Rapids Griffin for the last little bit here. But honestly, like this is your winner. This is the scouting department winner, the Detroit Red Wings for this year. And you wouldn't know back in 2002, but how amazing is it? Like, you think you win a Stanley Cup, how do you keep your team relevant? And we were relevant, for almost past another 10 years. That's how you do it. We're listening to Steve Yzerman preach all the time that we have important drafts coming up this year, next year, the year after that. And what he talks about is getting 1 to 2 good players. You don't have to get your franchise players, your elite players. You have to get guys that are going to fill out the lineup. And getting a 7th round pick like Jonathan Ericsson to work out like he did, of course, we've had our frustrations with him. And that goes to show like how, depth is important, but also just when you give a guy too much, you give a guy a cookie and he takes advantage of you, or he wasn't good enough to earn that cookie where the fan head goes. So sure, he was frustrating, but we can't forget that he was the last guy that went in the 2002 draft. And how many games we got from him, how many big hits, the help in regards to getting to 2 Stanley Cup finals, and of course him helping us win the 2008 Stanley Cup. So they're the winners.
It's arguably, we had a couple past drafts where, it felt like the Red Wings only got, just a Hall of Famer and then garbage. That was the case, for the Zetterberg year, the Datsuk year, the Kronwall year. And then leading up to this year, it felt like, man, you just look at these draft results, and they, got 3 or 4 guys who, contributed, played a long time, and, guys that you don't mind having on the roster for a while. But it's just something about this draft, Matt, this year. It just made me think that, Ken Holland, he's like, this was my apex. This was my apex. Not just the free agents and the trades I made, but for some reason he still wanted some of the guys that he missed drafting. It felt like that's why he was bringing in the Ian Whites, guys who had a cup of coffee with us. The Ian Whites, the Trevor Daly's, the Franz Nielsen's, the Ryan Whitney's. I don't know, something about this year, I think, Ken Holland liked putting money into it. Those guys, okay years. I think Ryan Whitney, people were pretty disappointed in. But I don't know.
Definitely lends to, like, if somebody told me that whenever Ken Holland got stuck and what was the next decision he had to make, he was just searching the 2002 NHL season, and then just to look at the picture behind me, and then that would result in him seeing the draft, and then you go, yeah, I do like Trevor Daly. All right, yeah, that's it just. He probably had all of these different scouting decisions in the back of his mind. So whenever he thinks of Trevor Daly, he gets all light and fuzzy because he had just finished, putting together the greatest NHL team of all time. So then when the draft stuff comes up, he's like, yeah, I love that guy. Bring him over. Whatever. Ian White, sure, a few years. Whatever. Knock him in there. I did want to mention, too, we might as well just get this out of the way with this Red Wings discussion. This is on the bottom of our list. But I thought, another element to the Ken Holland success in all of this, with the drafting of Valtteri Filppula, we actually, it's confusing. Because, number one, we draft Filppula, and we have the very next pick as well. And that was a boner of a pick. But we draft Filppula and trade our third rounder for 2003 for the Nashville Predators 2002 third rounder. So this is why it's weird. One, okay, sure. I mean, we just won the cup, and Nashville's like, sure, you can have another draft pick this year. We'll wait till next year. We're gonna suck anyway. So basically, getting a quick draft trade victory there. The other part of this is, why is Detroit doing that and they have the very next pick? Is Filppula, is the rumor running around the room that he was headed out? Is he going at this pick no matter what? And Nashville's calling up Detroit going, hey, I know this is a third rounder. I mean, because it's not even a first rounder. It's not even like we're talking about first round talent. We're talking about, rolling the dice on guys past probably pick 10.
Yeah.
And I mean, not pick 10 in the third round. I mean, pick 10 in the first round. So you're rolling the dice on guys past pick 10, and the Red Wings trade up to get the pick right before theirs, their next pick, so they can draft Filppula.
It's a mad world.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I'm going to say, if I have to play detective here, what I'm guessing is that idea was being bantied about, and how I always bring up the good old boys league. I bet that they were, all right, this is who's probably getting drafted, so the Red Wings were like, all right, fine. We'll trade. But then why would they trade? Why would they take that's the draft pick the next year? I don't know. Filppula could not have come into this draft as if you're drafting a guy in the third round, you know who you're taking. This guy who's going to end up second or third line center for his whole career. Probably a fourth liner once he comes back to Detroit in 2020. And they're going to be like, 2020? That's not a year. Yeah. Anyway.
I just, real quick, too, because I know sometimes, we really get on Holland's case. As far as, this kind of being, his glory time, he had 0-2, the absolute home run. And I remember there was when Filppula was going to be a free agent, and people were really grinding their molars that we let him go to Tampa Bay. His best season was still with us. So again, I just feel like it was in the 12th season, which was a pretty good year for us. But like he let him walk, and he just kind of went downhill from there. And I just wanted to give Holland another little bit of credit there for seeing that, we don't need to give this guy tons of money, to be a Red Wing going forward, and he'll come back to us when he's 35 or so.
Yeah.
It's just, he turned 30 that season. He's 29, 30, and Red Wings said, "Oh, we're good." And he's fine, but he just wasn't what the Red Wings. They didn't want to pay him what he was asking. So I wanted to give credit for a good move.
Yeah,
it was like they just kept him for the perfect trajectory and then let him walk.
I'm actually even gonna say Filppula's better than I even remember, because he's getting Selke votes, which I can't believe, and some Lady Bing votes, which could just be coming from Detroit sports writers, but that's actually that's an interesting little tidbit too that I wasn't even. I'll be completely honest here. I wasn't aware that he was getting votes like that. But yeah, good for him. Valtteri Filppula for the Red Wings, easily the best pick to come out of this, because even when we could sit here and make jokes about Filppula and coming back to the Wings now, he had a lot of empty nets that he missed this year. But talk about a guy that got Selke votes. I mean, he wasn't the absolute worst center on the team. He's filling a role for a team that just needed the roster completed, and he's not completely useless. So I even now, like, it still was a great time to set up that relationship, and there's always the marketing elements to it too. So you bring back somebody that the fans are going to recognize. And
you know what? The durability is really good with him too.
Yeah. And the hair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, he's getting it, past his 30s into his mid-30s, and he's 32 playing 79 games. He plays a full season in Philly, 81 games. Plays with the Islanders at 34, 72 games. And for the terrible Detroit Red Wings, he was in 70 games this year. And it was a grind to play a single game for this Red Wings team. So kudos to him, for sticking around with this awful roster. So thank you for putting in the man hours and letting us field a professional team.
Well, let's talk some of the more less Red Wings centric stuff, even though they'll figure into some of these numbers. But 11 guys playing 800 plus games, 7 playing 1,000 plus. So the previous season, just to give you a barometer, would be, we had 5, I think, actually 1,000 plus, and then there were only 8 guys who did the 800 plus games. So a little more depth in this draft. Guys playing up through this season, Mike: Jay Bouwmeester, Alex Steen, Duncan Keith, Johnny Boychuk, Curtis McElhenney, and that's actually a good time to talk about who I'm awarding the Good Boy Award to, is Duncan Keith. The Good Boy Award is something I thought would be fun to hand out. It's the guy who sticks around with just one team, and both player and team have to show loyalty to each other for this to work out. So just like your dog, who's a good boy. That's that I'm calling Duncan Keith a dog, but he sticks around, so you get the Good Boy Award. 610 points in 1,100 games. He's somebody that Chicago fans complain about now because of contracts that kind of eat up a lot of space, but he could be part of the reason why they struggle so much, even though they'll get back into the playoffs this year because of the 2014 thing. 2-time Norris winner, and then helping them win the Stanley Cup in 2010, 13, 15. So quite a successful career. Good boy for the Chicago Blackhawks. Can't complain about all those cups and trophies. So, Mike, I know you've got some of your favorite awards to.
Well, what goes without saying, my favorite award is always the Yuri DePito Award. That's the oldest fuck in the draft. I don't think another professional sport is as good about drafting old timers as the NHL. And this season was no exception to that rule. Yuri DePito when we started doing this, Matt. He was drafted at the ripe age of 32. And, Matt, we had a peer for Mr. DePito in Jonas Johnson. The St. Louis Blues felt the need to draft this 32-year-old who contributed pretty much nothing. So what I would want to do is just another guy who not quite as old, but still pretty old. It's at age 28. Frederick Norena actually played 100 games for the Columbus Blue Jackets. So bravo to him. He wasn't fantastic. He's basically a 500 goalie. He's just kind of a backup there. Spell for an actual professional who's not nearing 30 in his rookie deal. But good for Frederick. Good for Jonas, and as always, we think finally of Yuri DePito.
It's like he's dead.
My other favorite one is the Datsuk Diamond in the Rough winner, which it's because Datsuk was drafted so deep in 1998. What was that, 212 or was that 198? I don't know why I'm clinging to those numbers.
Yeah, where'd those? Yeah, you don't know.
Where the heck was he? It was so deep. But Matt, I think that you made a good point in the show notes today that Eriksson, the last guy taken in the draft, basically, playing until this season, it's really hard to not pick a second Red Wing. And since we've been doing this as the Diamond in the Rough winner, Matt, everybody passed on him. The Red Wings passed on him multiple times. But GD, he hung around and he played defense for a professional hockey team, Matt.
Right.
His
numbers don't really compare. I guess they actually do compare to the other couple of names I pulled, but it's like games played seems to be the most important thing here. But he's still 680. You get 680 games played out of the last guy you take in the draft.
Boom. Roasted.
Yeah. All right, cool. Dennis Weidman, 815 games played, 387 points, taken, I didn't write down what pick he was. Fuck. Motherfucking, god damn it.
Were you looking for Weidman?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe you spelled his name wrong because I don't see him. I tried
Buffalo Sabres, 241. Weidman, I got him. I spelled it right. 815 games again, 387 points in those 815 games. But yeah, pick 241. Can't beat that production going that deep into the draft. And then where's my Maxime Talbot? Obviously the Pittsburgh Penguins. Another candidate you could argue. I don't know. Yeah, you couldn't argue that he'd get the good boy. But 204 points in 704 games, and again, pick 234. So he's a little bit further up the list compared to Dennis Weidman. But I'd still say, especially considering the position for both Jonathan Eriksson and then Dennis Weidman, that their point production obviously won't even come close to a center like Maxime Talbot of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So he's going to have more offensive opportunities. So I think that the edge goes to those two, but I'm going to give the super edge to the Red Wings and Jonathan Eriksson with that last pick in the draft.
Just before we do the redraft, I just want to make sure we touched on two more teams here. Because I don't remember you mentioning it, Matt. Maybe this coffee is, negatively impacting my memory cells here, but the scouting department flows. So as great as the Red Wings did, Matt, and they won the Stanley Cup this year, they didn't hit home runs, but they hit like 4 doubles. Awesome. Vancouver, who very recently, did some swindling to, historically, as we've been doing these 98, 99, 2000, 2001, drafted, a couple of Sedins back to back. This year was not as magical for them, Matt. They had 10 picks. Out of those 10 picks, they got 12 man games played. Far and away, the worst draft of everybody in 2002. So by comparison, like it's just odd to see. I want to put these two together. So Red Wings, fantastic job. Because they weren't drafted in the top. They were drafted at the end of every round. So like my other favorite draft here was the Washington Capitals, Matt, who hit with 3 first-round picks. They had 12, 13, 17. They got Steve Eminger. They got Alexander Semin. And then Boyd Gordon at 17. All guys who, played a couple hundred games for them. Good stuff. And Semin, I'm pretty sure he's going to be drafted, in our redraft here in a moment. But after that first round for Washington, glorious. Great job. They had 10 more picks in 2002, Matt. 0 man games played out of those last 10 picks.
Yeah.
0. So good on them to see first round talent. Bad on them to see second through the rest of it talent. That's still not quite as bad as Vancouver, who accumulated 12 man games played out of 2002. What a waste of a season for them, draft wise. But I wanted to make sure we honored or dishonored those two teams for their performance in the draft. For as good as like the Red Wings are finding depth, finding guys at the end of rounds, finding guys at the very end of the draft, Washington, F. Vancouver, F. So there you go. Matt, are you ready to redraft in 2002?
Yeah, I think so. I think what this means, I think the last one you went first. Do I go first this time? Or
yeah, that's fine.
Am I misremembering? Anyway, this is, so one of the things we haven't even brought up yet, one of the names we haven't touched on, great career, was taken first overall, and this is one of the few times, Mike, that the guy who was taken first overall is going to be redrafted that same way.
Yeah.
Because just comparing everybody else, sure, there's the steals that we talk about with the Red Wings, and even looking at like the top like 7 guys in this draft, only one of them was taken in the top 24. One was taken in the top 24 out of the top 7 guys in this draft. But still, easy pick for me. Columbus Blue Jackets get to hang on to their first pick. See if it turns out a little bit differently in this go around through the new reality we're creating. But Rick Nash, easily going number 1. Ends up being the number 2 point share guy, only compared to goalie. That maybe I shouldn't say his name. But we've talked about like the point share numbers for goaltenders being through the roof, so we'll get into it with Kari Lehtinen at some point. But yeah, let's put Rick Nash back in Columbus. Who knows where he finishes his career, but he's starting it with Columbus.
So I get Atlanta. They picked a goalie at number 2, man.
It would be fun, like if we had kept the drafts from previous, because at one of our drafts we had the Thrashers walking away with I know they had Robert Lang and Bertuzzi and Zetterberg, so they may have already played a season with them, so who knows if they'd still be getting a number 2 pick. But they
had quite a few Hall of Famers based on the past couple.
Yeah,
seasons.
Right. But yeah, go ahead.
God, it's just, I really hate taking a goalie at number 2. So does the rest of the NHL.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, they were starting to. I think they felt like we're starting to build our forwards out a little bit. We got Danny Heatley now. We're rocking and rolling. We don't need anything else. Let's get a goalie at number 2. Man, it's almost like you want to let the clock run out and see if another team will draft Kari Lehtinen, and then maybe they'll draft somebody better.
Right.
But in their defense, they arguably got the best goalie at number 2 for this year. We're gonna do it again. Give me Lehtinen. We're gonna do it. They didn't fudge it up too bad, no 2. God. You know what? What if his best save percentage was, when he got a cup of coffee in 2003 and 4 and he played 5 games and he was 4-0 with a 95% save percentage. You know what? He's pretty good in Dallas. So I'm sorry, Atlanta, that you didn't quite see the best of the best from Carey when he was with you guys, but looking into the crystal ball and seeing that he, placed for some Vesna votes, when he hit 30, maybe it's not a nightmare for you. Maybe it's not.
Well, what a shocker that he started to play better when the team around him got better.
He actually did get 2 playoff games for Atlanta, Matt, in 2007. That was 2 losses, but he did play in the playoffs.
Oh, boy.
I'm talking myself out of this pick. You know what? Atlanta screwed it up again, and I can't believe we wasted our pick on Lehtinen. But he was the best goalie. They wanted a goalie. You get him. There you go.
We have a crystal ball to see in the future. And for these 2 teams...
We still couldn't rescue Atlanta.
We've got 2 teams that don't win Stanley Cups over this period, and we haven't changed a thing. All right. Florida Panthers.
They're going to change our fortunes. Not at all. We're still going to be in the toilet.
So I get to do 2 different picks for the Florida Panthers. The first one, they're going to get an upgrade. So they took a defenseman and a very successful. I mean, it ends up being a game changer. Still in the league in Jay Bouwmeester.
Yeah.
But I think this is that opportunity where we are going to make a subtle change and not just getting a guy that's in the top 10 of turnouts, but you're getting the best defenseman to come out of this draft. And a guy, like we already talked about, got the Good Boy Award. So guess what? He's sticking around forever. Duncan Keith will eventually the Panthers will rue the day that they drafted him because they're going to pay him too much money. But those hopefully Stanley Cups that come their way because he's on the team will mean enough that they'll forget about it. But Duncan Keith is the first pick that we will change the future finally. And the Chicago Blackhawks will suck just a little bit. They'll how do I want to say this? Because they won 3 Stanley Cups, so I can't say suck. They won't be as good now. Ha ha ha. All right, it's a double victory.
All right. Matt, this was kind of a wild draft. After Nash, after Lehtinen again, we historically had back-to-back defensemen getting picked. And to help out the Flyers, we're going to give them an upgrade too with the guy that you downgraded from. And they're going to take Bouwmeester. Matt, this guy. He played till 2020. He's only 36. He won a Stanley Cup with the Blues. Bouwmeester, give me the Bouwmeester. Great name, Stanley Cup winner. Matt, he did one of our favorite things. He got Lady Bing votes over the Datsuk era. So to even be mentioned among Datsuk, what an honor. But obviously, you're not taking that championship. Obviously, you're not taking that award for Mr. Pavel. He got Norris votes. He had a couple of years with double-digit goals, which as a defenseman, pretty solid, my man. He actually did that damage for the original team that drafted him. So, Philly, you get to look forward to those apex goal years. The other thing we like to mention, like we did for Filppula, durability. Besides Bouwmeester, still playing, at 36 there, in 2020. He also had multiple 82-game seasons. He wasn't quite Cal Ripken. He did have the audacity to get injured once or twice. But Matt, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons where he played 82 games. Pretty awesome achievement. That's a guy I would want to have on my team. So, Matt, give me the Bouwmeester.
Nice. All right. No, that is a fantastic pick. I think I do like the idea that there's some sort of decision making process in regards to picking up a defenseman, and it can't just be that everybody was scouted to be really good, and that's why they went in that direction. So with the Penguins, I'm gonna pick a guy that we've already talked about, and was number 2 in our Diamond in the Rough, our Pavel Datsyuk award is Mr. Dennis Weidman. Gets Norris votes, becomes an all-star, plays 800 games. A definite upgrade, even if I was thinking I'm going to go Yanni Pitkinen, or if I'm thinking let's just keep Ryan Whitney in the mix here. No, Dennis Weidman's the choice. He is going to jump around to quite a few teams, but no fault of his own at the start of his career. So let's put those 800 games to work in the Steel City. So we just made the Penguins better, so maybe we don't win the 2009 Stanley Cup. But anyway, or the 2008 Stanley Cup. Jesus Christ. I mean, it's fine. The Penguins won 2009, so maybe that's what I was thinking. I don't know. But yeah, give me the wide man. He's not waiting until 241. He's going at number 5.
Well, that gives me the Nashville Predators at number 6. Now, they originally drafted a left wing, and Matt, what we've been doing in this game is you drafted a goalie, you're getting a goalie. They drafted a left wing, they're getting a left wing. But I'm going to help them out, give them a little upgrade. The guy who, he helped out the Capitals quite a bit. He actually was a pretty decent playoff performer. Has a hilarious last name. Give me Wall-to-Wall Semin. Alexander Semin goes to play in Nashville. Yeah, he's skeeting all over the ice. Look how fast he's skeeting. He had a couple really, really strong seasons, and then he couldn't quite keep that goal level up to that awesome plateau. Because it feels like he kind of hit his high mark at age 25. That's when he got his 40-goal season, which, I think Nashville would really be pumped to have, a guy who nudges 40 a couple times. He also gets 38. And then it kind of peters out 26, 28. But to have those goal numbers, especially if we're saying you get to draft him and have him when he's at his best, that's when he was at his best. He was with Washington. It was before he left for Carolina. You get playoff points. You get a 40-goal scorer. And you get a hilarious name. Seaman. Semin, welcome to Nashville.
That's the... we've got to go find the YouTube for that draft pick and see what actually was said there.
I don't know if I should say this. Yeah. Go ahead. Matt, you got the Anaheim Ducks, number 7.
So here's the thing. We could play this game again of, the Anaheim Ducks are taking a left wing. So do I, just go down the list and find the next best left wing for the Ducks? Or do I think that maybe they were just trying to take the best forward available? So the next best left wing available, Mike, is Joffrey Lupul, who the Ducks took. But I think there's too many good players and guys that are going to make a difference, and even if their career didn't pan out at the end and they had to come back to the Red Wings, it was still a good career. So I think you know where I'm going here. He's been brought up a ton in this, and I'm surprised.
Don't you do it.
Yep.
That's who I was going to pick.
Well, you know what? We've got a cluster here of players that the Red Wings fans listening to the show will recognize, who I think are going for the next few picks. But, give me Valtteri Filppula here. Joffrey Lupul can drop down the list.
I wanted the frosty tips. Damn you!
I mean, we've talked about him so much. I mean, even with the struggles in this season, it's still amazing that he can put in so many games. And that's honestly, bring up each time we do this what Steve Yzerman says about bringing in, you need to hit on these early draft picks, and that would be hitting on the early draft pick. Even if you want to get the franchise or the elite guy on accident, if you can pull in a Valtteri Filppula at number 7, you did your job. I mean, it just goes to prove, too, like, how difficult these drafts are, that you can't expect, right, a franchise player on every first-round pick. So, how many of these guys don't... We said, even in the top 7, there's only one guy in the top 24.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, with that said, since Frosty Tips is out of the picture for me, Minnesota Wild are kind of like, well, now what do we do? Yeah. I don't know. We're screwed. That was our pick. So I guess what we're gonna do is take some other center. Whatever. Big deal. Matt. He's a guy right out of the gate. Again, another guy who liked playing every game. Give me Alex Steen. He didn't quite light the world on fire, but offensively, his best goal season was 33, and that's the season. He was almost like a point a night player. That's the season he was getting Hart votes, All-Star game, Selke votes. This was defensive forward. I think a guy the Red Wings treasured, or at least it seemed like it this season, the way that the Red Wings refused to put pucks in nets. We're more of a defensive offense. We don't like scoring. So Alex Steen, I think, would have fit in. He was not a big goal scorer, but he was a great defensive forward.
Let me say this.
Matt's coming in.
He's where it pays. This is where it pays to pay attention. I should have taken Steen already, and I am so focused on going between these pages and going, all right, who's drafted next? Who do they take? This is a bone. Like, Steen should have gone before Filppula. I think if we're setting this up as like a ranking, I'm still more envious. You know what? We're gonna do our first ever redraft trade because we're willing to give up Steen for Frosted Tips. Sure.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean,
we got him.
It is kind of interesting too that they're both at 1,018 games. So basically, you're trading away at 1,018 games apiece for the two. You would be trading away 107 points over his career.
We're in.
Not
we don't
to
give
mention,
a goddamn.
So your win-loss record, if you want to make that trade, it looks like. Yep, you're losing about 18 points over those 1,018 games for your points for your team. All right, so
I like it a lot. All right. Also, fun fact: last couple players I drafted, Bouwmeester and Steen, actually won a Stanley Cup together. Isn't that fun? Cute. The old Santal Blues. But man, with that hot trade, yeah.
I get to make a major upgrade here for the Panthers because even though we were talking about the guys that are points-wise in the top 7, there's still a lot of games played going into the top 14. But one of the guys who doesn't have at least 400 games played in the top 14 draft picks, right, is this number 9 pick for the Florida Panthers. Played 3 games, no points. 0 point share, obviously, with that. But this was where the Panthers, with their second pick in the top 10, they're trying to do something for their offense. So this is the easy game we play. If they're drafting in the top 10, they're not looking for someone that's that they're going to walk away from and say, man, that was a pretty good defensive forward for our fourth line. No, we're going to get someone that's going to make a difference at least for a few years. So when I brought up those names that the Red Wings fans are going to recognize, this was one here. Obviously, coming out of the Czech Republic, Yuri Hudler.
Damn it! That's what I was going to take at 10.
It's fine. There's a whole list of guys. 428 points in 708 games. Point shares. Actually, if you do the math the right way, Mike, it's more valuable than Valtteri Filppula. Very interesting. So head on down to Florida, Yuri. You don't have to make that pit stop for a Stanley Cup with the Red Wings. Well, now the Panthers have Duncan Keith and Yuri Hudler. Couple of Stanley Cup winners. Are they still winning a cup?
Yeah.
All right, Mike, you're number 10.
Oh, great.
This is fun. This is like how my fantasy drafts go. Like in high school, I would just pick like all the Detroit Red Wings, all the Detroit Lions.
I had this narrative for Calgary where I was like, he ended up playing for you anyway.
Yeah.
You get him when he's young and cheap instead of when he's old and expensive. Like you get Yuri, you get the Hootie, you get the Hoot Man. Hoo-hoo! But instead, now it doesn't matter. The Calgary's just going to go up in flames as it is. What did they do for real? They took, who's this idiot? Eric Nystrom. He had a middling career, if anything. Man, I guess they'll take a slight upgrade, a guy who originally got picked by Nashville. They're going to take Scotty Upshaw.
You don't want him to. No,
you know what? Here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Screw that. We're not taking Scotty Upshaw. Matt, we're taking another future Hall of Famer, current Detroit Red Wing, Franz Nielsen.
That's nice.
Because I know the Red Wings really like Franz Nielsen for some reason, and they're willing to sign him in free agency to a long, long deal that never seems to end. So what we're going to do is draft him, and we're going to trade him immediately to the Red Wings for Yuri Hoodler. To the Florida Panthers for Yuri Hoodler. We're going to do a little bit of Back to the Future financial footwork there to make this deal go through. We're going to set ourselves up here as soon as possible to bring in the Hood Man. So at all costs, we make this move happen.
I feel like as a guy who drafted twice for the Florida Panthers in this round that I have some say in this. And I say no. We're happy with our Duncan. We're happy with our Yuri.
We will throw in our 2003 redraft pick.
Well, interesting enough, the Red Wings actually traded up as well, and along with all the other great draft picks, they are taking Rick Nash away from the Blue Jackets, so we'll see how that goes.
Everything else just fell into place for the Red Wings. So I'm surprised that draft day deal didn't happen. 2002 is a hell of a year.
It could be considered the greatest year in Detroit Red Wings history. Yeah. Why not? Why wouldn't it be? We took down the Avalanche in that beautiful 7-game series, as well as destroying Patrick Roy's career in doing so. You win the Stanley Cup. You have one of the greatest drafts ever, including drafting the very last guy and having that work out.
In 2002, you got to bring in Franz Nielsen for a draft day workout and thought, maybe someday.
No, this is. I think the argument could be made that this is one of the greatest years for the Detroit Red Wings. Because it'd be one thing for you to argue that they doomed themselves because of this season, but obviously they won the Cup in 2008, so that's not true. And then they made the Cup.
And then toiling in the minors was a young Pavel, a young Henrik, and
Pavel played his first year. You get to meet Pavel.
Did he?
Yeah,
Did he get a gameplay? Oh, I was thinking of Boyd Devereaux, took his spot. I thought Pavel played the next season.
No, he's got a Stanley Cup in 2002.
Wait, get out of the way. Is Pavel in that picture?
Yeah, he's right there.
Where is he?
There he is.
Point him out.
He's right. He's right over there.
No, he's not. I don't see him. He's right in that area?
I can't see it. It's a green screen. I don't know.
You got to be like the weatherman. So we got a Pavel Datsuk front over here. We got some Boyd Devereaux lines over here.
But yeah, this is Pavel Datsuk famously won a Stanley Cup as Brett Hull's line mate. Yeah, he was a part of that team.
Where's that Datsuk front coming in, man? I don't see it over there.
It's lost.
Is it 13 degrees over here?
It's lost in the memories from 18 years ago.
right by this 17 front over here.
Well, with that, everybody, with that big boner, we're headed off into the sunset after discussing, again, let's term this as probably the greatest Red Wings season in Detroit Red Wings history. It's so tough to argue. I guess, how about 1988, right? Cup and then a Datsuk. Anyway. Thanks for tuning in. Head on over to at BOD Hockey on Twitter to check us out. It's brothers_of_discussion on Instagram. Check out the Hockey Podcast Network at HockeyPodNet and thehockeypodcastnetwork.com. And don't forget brothersofdiscussion.com and bodpodcast.com. And subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. And please check out our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Help us out a little bit. We're not asking you to buy anything, just to do us that favor. Thank you so much, and have a good one. Hi everybody, this is Matt Klink of the Brothers of Discussion, reminding you that you can find the Brothers of Discussion at bodpodcast.com, brothersofdiscussion.com. Find us on Twitter at bodpodcast, and of course we are bringing you content every Thursday, if not during every Monday Night Raw, every NXT show, every AEW Dynamite, every SmackDown, every pay-per-view, every major show happening in the United States. The Brothers of Discussion are covering it, so if you want good wrestling coverage, come to the Brothers of Discussion. Thanks, everybody. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Discussion 5. Can't thank you enough. But to try to give back, we're here to tell you about another cool hockey contest that the Hockey Podcast Network and the Discussion 5 are very proud to tell you about. If you are interested in walking away with a $175 Cool Hockey gift card, you've got to listen up. Because if you buy a jersey from coolhockey.com before June 1st, so from the moment you hear this till June 1st, you will be entered to win a $175 Cool Hockey gift card. Now, once you make that purchase, your name is automatically entered, and it has to be a jersey purchase to be entered. All you have to do is go to coolhockey.com/THPN. And you know what? Mother's Day's coming up. So you go ahead and get your mom that hockey jersey that she's always wanted. And now you're entered for the Cool Hockey Gift Card Contest. Now, a couple little snippets here. If we get 10 jerseys sold by May 15th, this sucker's going to turn into a $200 gift card. That's right. So you want to share with your friends and your buddies what's going on here. Now, make sure you also use the promo code THPN to get 30% off the hockey jersey that you're purchasing. So just to run this down one more time, we've got coolhockey.com/THPN is the location you want to go to run this contest and buy your next hockey jersey. Get your mom a hockey jersey for Mother's Day, and then you'll be entered to win a $175 Cool Hockey gift card to give to your dad for Father's Day.